Lilian Rebecca, who is from BIFAR Region 3, and Ms. Maya Baldonado, who is the officer in charge of the Fisheries Inspection and Quarantine Section of the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. For our rapporteur, we have Dr. Teresita Cabao, who is the Assistant Regional Director for Technical Operations Services of DOST Region 2. As was also mentioned earlier, there will be pieces of paper that you can write on, and the ushers and usherettes will just collect this from you. Okay. So may I now request our speaker to do her presentation. This is for 20 minutes.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. I hope gising na gising pa kayo. Before I will present my topic on fish health and food security, let me just make some disclaimer that I am not a fisheries person. I am a zoologist. Dr. Guerrero was my advisor. And I have works related to fish diversity as well and fish parasites. So this is where I can share you some of my works. So when we think of fish, we think of them as food. Well, of course, as Dr. Guerrero mentioned, fish is a vital source of food for the people. And it's an important source of high-quality protein according to the Food and Agriculture Organization, providing 20% of the animal production consumed by the world's population. Okay. However, fish is not just food. When we think of fish, we think of them as food. But let's think of them as part of the ecosystem. No? What are the various roles of fish in aquatic ecosystems? They are known to be predators of smaller microorganisms and aquatic plants and algae. They are also competitors. They compete with nutrients, food, with other organisms. But this is a form of healthy competition because they regulate a population of other organisms in an ecosystem, and that means you control the population of other species, because if there is overpopulation of one species, that will disrupt the balance of the ecosystem. So they sustain the carrying capacity of the ecosystem because they regulate the food web of an aquatic ecosystem. So, fish contribute to the essential nutrients to their ecosystem. So how? Their excreta actually provide fertilizers such as nitrogen and phosphorus for development and growth of other organisms in the ecosystem. So they have a role in nutrient cycling, and they help regulate the ecosystem food web, transferring energy up and down the food chain. So basically, they contribute to the primary productivity. And not only that, the migration of fish, particularly from lakes to streams, contribute to the introduction of significant nutrients to stream ecosystem. So this migration pattern is not just a phenomenon, but it has an ecological importance. That movement from lakes to stream actually brings nutrients from lakes to streams. And also the swimming movement of these fishes actually provide disturbance. And this disturbance will allow the unraveling of the nutrients from the soil, from the sediment that is needed by other aquatic resources. So yun po yung mga ecological roles ng mga isda. So next time you see a fish, you think of them as an important part of an ecosystem, not just food. So these are just some of the works which demonstrated the role of marine fishes. Okay. Basically, it stated that they bring nutrients, no, from their movement brings nutrients from lakes to streams. However, like any other living organisms, they are also faced by various environmental disturbances and anthropogenic or man-made disturbances. When I was collating all the information for this presentation, I got overwhelmed with so many factors that would affect fish health. So I coined them into 5 groups. Okay? So these are loss of biodiversity, pollution, habitat alteration, climate change, and introduced species, or introduced alien or exotic species. So let me discuss one by one, but I will not go into the details because the session 2 and session 3 speakers will discuss more of this later on. So pollution, there are basically 2 major groups of pollutants: the biological agents such as bacteria, virus, and parasites, and chemical substances such as pesticide residues, heavy metals, endocrine disruptors, organic pollutants, leakages of nuclear plants like radionuclides, and other toxins. So, organic pollutants are the great contributors of freshwater ecosystems. No? For example, human and domestic waste, which saturates the water and stops the normal functioning of the ecosystem. And these are also associated with pathogenic microorganisms and parasites. I had one study regarding the presence of Cryptosporidium. This is a parasitic protozoa. There have been reports of Cryptosporidium in cattle and other farm animals in the coastal area of Laguna de Bay. And I wanted to know the extent of contamination of this Cryptosporidium, which is a diarrhea-causing parasite in Laguna de Bay. And we found out using a bioindicator, which is the tulia, we found out that they are present in Laguna Lake. And if a person is immunocompromised, or elderly and children with weak immune system, it could lead to serious diarrheal disease. So heavy metals are also present, or could serve as stressors in fishes. So there are studies, and I also have studies which show that our aquatic ecosystems, including the aquatic resources such as fish, are now contaminated with heavy metals. So I mentioned about agricultural runoff, such as pesticides and fertilizers, that could lead to eutrophication, which could lead to excessive algal growth, and therefore depletion of salt oxygen, and could lead to death of living organisms in aquatic ecosystems. Endocrine disruptors have also been found present in aquatic ecosystems. So there's one study by one of our colleagues from the veterinary medicine in UPLB, which showed that the Laguna de Bay, the fishes, and the water itself is contaminated with endocrine disruptors. Now, what are these endocrine disruptors? According to the work of Dr. Paraso, these are chemicals that mimic the action of hormones. So hormones like estrogen and testosterone. So they regulate reproductive ability of the organisms. So pesticides and some fertilizers have these chemical structures which can mimic the estrogen chemical structure, and therefore they can disrupt the normal functioning or development of the reproductive system. So she mentioned, Dr. Parazo, that these endocrine disruptors could lead to feminization of some of the fishes. So I don't know if this has implication on the consumers. Kung ito ba ay mayroong feminization di ba sa mga consumers, no? Lalo na sa mga lalaki. So habitat alteration is one, like creation of dams. Is one stressors, like creation of dams, recreation, ecotourism, draining and conversion of wetlands, quarrying and aquaculture. All of these may have an effect on the biological, physical, and chemical properties of an aquatic ecosystem. And if you change this nutrient cycling, the normal nutrient cycling, it could alter also the normal functioning of the ecosystem and therefore the fish and other aquatic organisms. Now, one of the biggest problems of our aquatic ecosystem is the introduction of alien or exotic species because they modify the habitat, the normal habitat. They can compete with native species for resources. They are known to be more resistant, more sturdy, and therefore they can feed on native species. They can also bring in some pathogens with them, which are native to their system. And it could also lead to hybridization with other native species, leading to loss of genetic diversity. So loss of introduction of exotic species is actually the second most important stressor, second to habitat alteration in aquatic ecosystem. One example of this is the knife fish in the Bunta Lake. It has been introduced there during the Ondoy typhoon in 2009. Now, they have uncontrolled reproduction. And there was a report of the decrease of the population of the native species such as Bia and Ayungin, the Bia and the Ayungin. So loss of biodiversity also boosts ecosystem productivity. So if you remove one part of the ecosystem, one living organism, it may have a cascade effect. Greater species diversity ensures natural sustainability for all life forms. Example, reports on the removal of lobster in the aquatic ecosystem could lead to outbreak of bacterial diseases and urchin. Why? Because these lobsters feed on urchins. So if you remove the lobsters, dumami lahat ng mga urchins sa dagat. And overpopulation could also lead to transmission of diseases. We have this DOST-funded project with the late Dr. Ocampo. We call it the Philippines project. Direction for the Conservation to Native and Endemic Philippine Freshwater Fishes. And according to our data, this, the loss of biodiversity was due to these stressors, the presence of introduced species and the altering of their habitat. Of course, climate change is one. So the projected increase in temperature, sea level, and precipitation variability has been one of the problems in climate change, which can also exacerbate the many forms of water pollution, like flooding. Flooding could lead to transmission of diseases, introduction of new species, and because Philippines is a disaster-prone region, it could also affect the function and operation of the existing water infrastructure as well as water management practices. So these various environmental disturbances affect the development and life cycles of these fishes. No? Like it could also decrease the immune system. Para din po itong mga tao, meron din silang immune system. They also respond to stressors. So when they are subjected to these disturbances, they are also immunosuppressed. So hindi sila nakakalaban doon sa mga sakit na nasa paligid nila. It could also lead to reduced reproductive capacity. Histological studies show that it could lead to feminization, could lead to poor gonadal development, etc., etc. It could also lead to poor metabolic activity, imbalanced physiological homeostasis, and morpho-anatomical abnormalities. Masyadong maliit po yan. Pero pinapakita ko lang po dyan yung life cycle, no? Biologist po kasi ako. So actually, itong life cycle na to, pinapakita lang na all stages, no? From the point of fertilization, which we call the zygote, there is already an stressor. Pag nakalabas na yan, there's also external fertilization, which could lead to teratogenic effect. When we say teratogenic effect, there is abnormality, no, during the development. So paglaki ng isda, wala na siyang paa, wala na siyang, yung fins niya, wala pala siyang paa, sorry po. Kasi nag-aaral po kami ng teratogenic sa mga other amphibians and mammalians. Anyways, wala silang fins or imbalance yung kanilang katawan. So what could be these are the various anatomical abnormalities. Split fins, scale disorientation, hyperplasia, muscle atrophy, opercular deformity. Ito po yung operculum ng isda. No? Gill deformity, skeleton deformity, okay, etc., etc. So what are the implications? The implications are that if a fish is blind, a fish is imbalanced, it could not swim. No? It could not defend itself from predators. So this could lead to loss of species richness and reproductive capability of these fishes. These are just some of our photos, no, showing the abnormalities of fishes. Of course, they're also prone to infection. There are several studies which show that bacteria, virus, parasites could lead to diseases, various types of diseases in fishes. Well, this is just one of my studies in the 7 lakes of San Pablo, showing the parasites present in the intestine. They actually live in symbiotic mutualistic relationship with the fish host. But there are some fishes which are super infected. When we say super infected, napakadami ng kanilang parasites sa intestine. No? And these results show that they have low reproductive capacity. Okay, so if fishes are stressed, then it could lead also to diseases. It could lead to infection. They are prone to predation. They also have poor meat quality and therefore poor palatability to consumers. So it's actually, how do we connect this fish health to food security? So if you have low fitness, fish fitness, it could lead to low reproductive rate, low abundance of fishes, low species richness, low biodiversity. And as I mentioned a while ago, if you have low biodiversity, it has an effect, no, on the ecosystem functioning. And we know that aquatic ecosystem provide several services like livelihood for the people. So therefore, it has an impact, no, on food security, the human health, and the total health. So mitigation, I think this will be discussed in detail later on by some of our speakers. But these are habitat restoration, responsible ecotourism, regulated aquaculture, minimize anthropogenic impacts, ensuring primary treatment of sewage discharge, promoting use of environmental impact assessments, and implementation and enforcement of our policies and standards. So if you want to mitigate this problem in our aquatic ecosystem, it should be an ecosystem approach. No? I call it the One Health. It's actually an emerging approach to management of our ecosystems. That means that if you want to address human health, you need to address also animal health as well as the environment. That is what we call One Health approach. So it's an ecosystem approach, and all stakeholders, not only the academicians, researchers, policymakers, but even the local communities should be involved with managing, particularly the aquatic ecosystems. Okay. So, Dr. Guerrero was very passionate this morning. Dahil advising niya ako, nahawaan niya po yata ako. No? When I do my research, sabi ko, ano ba itong ginagawa ko na to? And this, I always challenge myself. I was hungry, and you set up a committee to investigate my hunger. I was homeless, and you compiled a report on my homelessness. I was sick, and you held seminar on my sick. But I'm still hungry.
Na ano po ni Dr. Palier. Sa uno po, fish as food. So, fish are consumed as food by many species, including humans. It has been an important source of protein and other nutrients for humans throughout recorded history. So, agree po ako sa statement po yun. And then another agreed statement po is, although marami po siyang minention na role ng fish sa aquatic environment, I will focus on the ecological role of fish sa aquatic ecosystem. So fish are important because they contribute essential nutrients to their ecosystem. So proven po yan ng mga researches, international and local researches po. Excreting nutrients, yung mga tinitake po nila, kinukonsume nilang microorganism, plants and smaller animals, in-excrete po nila yung nutrients that is useful to the environment. And then, yung factors affecting the aquatic ecosystem. So, doon po sa nabasa ko sa Regional Aquatic Monitoring Program, there are two factors po that affect the aquatic ecosystem. Yung una pong factor na nabasa ko is on the natural factor, and the other is the human factor. Dr. Palier mentioned on, although yung natural factor can be considered as sa paper niya is environmental stress. So, usually ito ay yung sa mga habitat alteration in which one habitat is destroyed and another habitat is created. So, sa anthropogenic stress po na na-mention nandun sa abstract document po ni Dr. Palier, as anthropogenic stresses or human impact on the environment. Mentioned ni Dr. Palier amount of contaminants deposited, the climate change through the production of greenhouse gases, loss of biodiversity, and introduction of exotic species. So, kinorelate niya sa fish health. When we say fish health, marami pong points or mga topics na correlated po siya or associated when we say fish health. Iyon po ay fish reproductive capacity, also the metabolic activity, morphological deformities, cellular and histological changes, and reduced fish immune function that leads to illness and poor reproduction. So when we say fish health, we must look beyond the health of the individual animal and consider the health of the group. So we can ask the question, are we achieving our desired production performance? Another question, are the final products delivered to the markets and processing plants, boxing and delivery to customers safe? Na-mention din ni Dr. Palier na we must have coordinated, collaborative activities regarding fish health management and then environmental or ecological management. So may mga government efforts naman pong na ginagawa tayo. Some of these are the trainings and seminars on prerequisites program. When we say prerequisites programs, this includes the GMP, SSOP, and the HACCP. And also, we are implementing the National Residue Monitoring Program. This is a program sa mga banned and regulated antibiotics and monitoring of drugs used in aquaculture. Also, we have continuous knowledge update on fish health, and also na-publish yung Philippine National Standard of the Good Aquaculture Practice Code, or may PNS code na po siya, PNS/BAFS 135/2014 ICS 65.150. Ito po ay set of direction for harmonized regional standards po. Another effort po na nakita ko po sa website ay yung sa Philippine Food Security Information System. Ito pong PhilFish na to is an output of the United Nations FAO funded project establishment of Philippine Food Security Information System. This is a one-stop shop web-based information system with functionality to retrieve, analyze, and share selected statistical data and indicators and other information related to food security in the Philippines at the national and sub-national level. So happen nakita ko po siya sa yung sa website ng Bureau of Agricultural Statistics po siya na, pero po under na po ng PSA po siya. PSA. So, isa pong definition na nakita ko sa World quotation or from the World Food Summit in 1996 is, quote and unquote po, food security exists when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for active and healthy life. So, to end my discussion po, kukunin ko po yung quotation ni John Leach. Sabi po niya, fish is among the healthiest food on the planet. So, thank you po.
So thank you very much, Ms. Rueca. May I now call on Ms. Maya Baldonado also be for her discussion.
Okay, so magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. With regards to Dr. Pader's presentation, I totally concur with the presentation. As mentioned, tama po, there are a lot of factors that affect the fish health of the farm fishes. This is not only experience in Laguna Lake, but it also different areas, particularly those major production areas, aquaculture production areas. Considering these facts, technically, unless environmental and pollution laws are strictly enforced and good aquaculture practices are observed, bodies of water like Laguna Lake will cease as an aquaculture area. Now, if this continues, it will significantly reduce supply of farm fishes in the markets because of the issue not only on food security but also on food safety. Now, there are also existing government programs na-mention na rin po ng aking colleague from BIFA Region 3. So there are already existing programs of the government to ensure food safety and establishing traceability of fish catch. This is following the farm-to-fork table concept and farm-traded fishes, whether for domestic and for export market. Now, these programs includes registration of aquaculture farms. We also have the National Residue Monitoring Program. This is being done to monitor the presence of those banned substances like chloramphenicals and nitrofurans. These antibiotics are used in the treatment of fish diseases or illnesses. However, if taken by consumers, this could affect the health of the safety of our health consumers. Also, aside from registration of farms and residue monitoring, inspection is also being done and accreditation to include those hatcheries, pre-processing and processing plants, auction markets, and even those boats supplying and vessels carrying these farm fishes. Likewise, countryside can readily absorb stakeholders in aquaculture business who opt to continue, like resorting to production in mariculture zones or parks. At present, there are 67 mariculture zones in the country just awaiting for locators, which can help spur economic activities, particularly in the aquaculture sector. So with that po, magandang hapon po sa ating lahat.
So thank you, Ms. Baldonado, for that discussion. Okay, so we have, I guess, more time for open forum. So there are NAST staff who will gather your questions. Right? Okay. So what is this session all about? So it's really all about fish health and food security. Noong po unang panahon, pag namamalengke po mga nanay natin, ang tinitingnan lang po nila is yung gills tsaka yung eyes para maintindihan na fresh. Di ba po? Ay ngayon nakikita natin, well, we have heard from the speaker that meron pa palang tinatawag na fish health. Hindi lang yung freshness na siyang pwede ding maka-influence sa human health. And she talked about 5 threats to fish health. I think just looking at the issues on the 5 threats ay ma-justify na po natin, Sir, si Sir Guerrero, ang Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, because I think to my mind, hindi natin masyado tinitingnan itong mga issues na to. So, meron po akong isang sir, ito ba ay question or ito ba ay comment lang? This is from Academician Ruben Villarreal. Dr. Palier, I am still hungry. Are cooked sick fishes still safe to eat? So yan po yung first question para kay Dr. Palier. So, di ba kanina sabi ko sa palengke, rawness lang, freshness. Ngayon ay sickness, hindi naman natin makikita, di po ba? So, pero, kung ganon, are sick fish still safe to eat? Pag nag-fish kills ba, kinakain pa natin yun?
Okay, I can share my research project on the tilapia, no, in the 7 days. Kasi meron po akong project doon na, ano ba itong role ng mga parasites? Parasitologist po kasi ako, no? Ang parasites sa mga isda, no? Because they have mutualistic, they are not actually parasitic, no? But they have mutualistic relationship. And we found out they have a biosync role, no? Yung mga isdang may mga parasite doon sa intestine nila, mas mababa yung heavy metals nila, no? At yung wala ay mas mataas ang heavy metals. So yung parasites na nasa intestine, ina-absorb niya yung heavy metal. Well, anyway, ang isang nakita namin sa result namin ay safe pa po naman. Even in Laguna, di ba? According to WHO, the concentration of heavy metals, particularly lead, mercury, is 0.05 milligram per kilogram of the meat. Ang nakukuha pa po namin ay ang average po ay 0.002. So malayo pa naman. But this is, I don't know, Macglobe, if these are accumulated in our systems, I think, so if they are not excreted from the consumers, from human consumers, and even if 1 kilogram would contain 0.001, if this is accumulated over time, then it may have a deleterious effect, cumulative effect on our health. But as of now, in the 7 lakes of San Pablo, okay pa po, no? Although merong traces of heavy metals in the water system, but they can already be observed in fishes, pero nasa safe level pa po naman. Yun nga lang po, if it will continue to accumulate in our aquatic ecosystem, then that should pose a concern to aquatic managers.
Okay, sige po. So, a couple more questions here. How safe would sashimi and kilawin be in the Philippines? So, because there's been concern about parasitism in sashimis in other countries. So, this is from academician Michael Tan. Yung mga Japanese dishes na raw fish, do they have health problems?
Okay, I graduated actually in Japan. So I know the fish parasites that are there. One public health concern when it comes to parasite is the anisakis. No? Actually, may experience ako doon na may nakausling bulate doon sa sashimi. Pero po, ang secret dyan, medyo complicated po kasi tinatanong namin, no, kasi I stayed in Japan for 4 years, tinatanong namin saan ba nagkagaling to, because these parasites are endemic only to to Hiroshima, but it's coming from Hokkaido, it's safe, something like that. So alam na ng population yon. We have reports of anisakis as well in the Philippines. But in food safety, when we say food security, food safety is an element of that. A proper cooking po, we need to properly cook the fish that we eat. And kung sashimi po yan at sushi, okay lang po kahit isang parasite actually. But not the super infection. I mentioned about the super infection. No? Pag pa-isa-isa lang, we can withstand, no, the presence of that parasite in mutualistic relationship with them in our intestine. But high amount of parasites in our system, of course, yun na po yung pumapasok na yung imbalance, na yung parasitism. So, meron po talaga, there are diseases that are associated with fishes, no? Especially nowadays, no? The heavy metals, the pesticides, the parasites, the microorganisms, bacteria associated with this. Pero kung iisipin po natin yun na hindi na po tayo kakain. No? We're not saying that we should not eat fish, but we're saying we should be conscientious on how we prepare our food.
Ayan. Marami na akong questions dito ngayon. Okay. I would like to address this question to the BIFAR discussants. Walang anonymous yung question. Considering that not all municipalities have established fish health monitoring body, how can we now effectively address the spiraling concern with fish health that is greatly correlated to human health? So isn't it necessary to capacitate LGUs, particularly the MAMs, in order to cascade BIFAR's work toward ensuring human health? So kanina we have mention of national monitoring programs.
The LGUs are partners of BIFAR in implementing different regulations, which includes protection of our fishery resources. There was already a training that were conducted to our local government units, particularly on fish health-related activities. Siguro lang yung mga na-train siguro noon or not already, hindi na siguro sila yung ngayon, the present. So, if there's a need, the question is if there's a need to capacitate, yes, why not? I mean, since sila nga yung ating partners sa baba to implement these regulations and requirements,